Good morning, everybody, and it's Matthew Dixon here, the founder of eBay.io ratings platform, cryptocurrency ratings platform. And I'm here with you again on 3.0 TV to give you the latest traders report. So we'll start today on Ethereum. There's been a bit of a sell-off over the weekend. Starting Friday. This was because Trump imposed new tariffs across the board, really I say across the board, actually on selected nations, so not quite across the board. Those that he felt weren't towing the line according to his policies. So not entirely happy, and clearly the crypto market wasn't at all happy. Not just crypto, actually, risk assets. We saw a big sell-off it was across the board on risk assets, really. Saw a big sharp sell-off on the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, some of the other stock markets and cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. So we'll have a quick look at that. I'm starting today with Ethereum because it's a fairly clear overall picture. So from that local high we had, it's not the all-time high, but a high we had back at the beginning of the year, we had quite a substantial correction, which was punctuated by these corrective moves on the way down. So basically, we had a series of lower highs and lower lows. That is the definition of a downtrend. So we had quite a serious downtrend in place, which bottomed out middle of this year, early to middle this year, after the end of the first quarter, bottomed out around April time. And then we started to move up impulsively. And the reason for that move up, I think, was largely the Pectra upgrade, but also a big change in policies towards crypto and institutional adoption. So we're in a bit of a crypto spring possibly at the moment. But there are two ways things can go. Obviously, there's never absolute certainty. So anyway, the Pectra upgrade, we had basically a wave one, wave two, and then another wave one, wave two. And the Pectra upgrade was basically the stimulus for a substantial, large push up in Ethereum here in a wave three. And the wave three, if you measure wave one, transpose that measurement to the start of wave three went to just about 4.236 times the magnitude of wave one. Now, that is quite a large extension, but a common-ish extension in cryptocurrency. Cryptos are volatile, and you tend to get the bigger Fibonacci extensions, and that's what happened here. So this Pectra upgrade gave us basically the wave three that we were looking for. And then we got a substantial pullback in ABC form, looked like some kind of zigzag correction, which is actually a 5-3-5 correction, zigzag, before we then got the move up in a fifth wave. And it looks as though you can get two extended waves within Elliott wave. So in relation to wave one, we clearly had a large extended wave three, which is 4.236. And I think we could be getting even possibly a larger extended wave five. And that is possible. It does fall within the rules of Elliott wave. And we had quite a nice alternation here between the small wave two and quite a large wave four. And that alternation is not an absolute rule, but it's a guideline for Elliott wave. So basically, it gave us the expectation of a substantial move higher, and we had some nice divergences that we could have used. And right now, we're near the top. We have another divergence in place up here, which basically was a matter of we had higher highs in price peaks and lower highs in corresponding RSI. And I'm looking here at the 4-hour chart. So that is a signal that the price was about to turn down, precisely what happened. So we've turned down. Looks at the moment to me like we've got 5 waves down. So if it's 5 waves down, it could be the beginning of a new impulse down, or it could just be an A wave of an ABC correction down before we push higher again. So we need to determine which that is really to try and find where we go. So above, we have some overhead resistance, which is not much higher, 4,100-ish. This previous high here. I'll just put that line in place. So the previous high is around here. So that is going to be quite a substantial overhead resistance. So to break that is going to be difficult. So if we have an ABC correction, we may well test higher again, possibly to complete this move up. And that is going to be serious overhead resistance. Now, if we break through, it will open the way to much higher, but it will act as overhead resistance. So price could well bounce down. That would be a good risk reward barrier to potentially close trades, or even if you do take short trades ever, to potentially take a short trade with a stop loss somewhere a little bit above there. So as I say, it will be resistance. The likelihood is we'll bounce off it, even if it's only a short-term bounce. there's some potential with the risk reward barrier there for some good potential profits. So I'll move back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was, it's been a really nice correction that we've had. When I say nice correction, it's nice from a trader's perspective when you can actually see the way things are working out. So I'll just focus in on the final move up here from this wave four in red. And I think that we have basically a one, two, three, four, and we're working on a final fifth wave in red here. So I do think this is quite a clear correction. I'll just move this buy zone out of the way for the time being. So I think this is quite a clear correction. So in this final wave here, again, it's a fifth of a fifth wave. We have a one, a two, a three, a four, and a five to come. So I still think we've got new highs to come in this particular cycle. And that should take us somewhere around a 126, maybe to 130 possibly, but somewhere around this target zone up here. So we did have a buy zone target. That's what these two red lines are. And I'll just open that out a little bit. We actually dipped below the buy zone target, but we're well within it again now. So if you had what I proposed was you dollar cost average within this zone here. And diversification is important, not only between assets, but even within an asset, you diversify the prices that you enter at. So you're not all in at one price. Basically, there's an important buy zone around here. It could even have been a bit lower. So if I just open this out a bit more, I'll show you how I would calculate a sensible buy zone. So if we're looking at a correction is made up of an ABC. So basically, I'll just measure the magnitude of that A wave there. It's about that. And just transpose that to the top of this B wave, which is somewhere around there. So actually, my buy zone was a bit premature because you would expect the most common relationship is that the C wave equals the A wave. So if that was the case, the buy zone would normally be, you don't wait until it gets to 100%, but would actually be within this range here. So I could actually move that sensibly. My buy zone should be, that's 100%. And normally you start buying at around about the 0.786, which is there. So if you'd been monitoring this on a live basis, that is the buy zone there between these two red lines. We did well within that buy zone, plenty of opportunities to buy, and right now you'd be in substantial profit. So if I had done that, I would now be looking to protect by putting a stop loss in place in a profit position, guaranteed profit position. So then no matter what happens, you'll end up with a profit. Even if the market continues down, you'll take a profit because you moved your stop loss into a profit position. But actually, this being an ABC movement from the top, you would expect the movement to take us to brand new all-time highs. As I said, my minimum target is about 126,000-ish, maybe to 130. That would be the end of this particular cycle. We would then expect either a complete reversal or just a temporary reversal in another wave four before we then move up again. So we can monitor that as the waves unfold and just see where we are at the time. But for the time being, as I say, this looks like a clear correction to me. I'm really bullish these markets. As I said, we expected a correction. The wave three here was actually a really nice Fibonacci extension. I think it was a beautiful extension before we got the perfect Fibonacci extension, which itself was made up of one, two, three, four, five. That's typical of an Elliott wave impulse. And then this corrective movement of an ABC. And we can see this movement up here overlapped this movement down here. So it was clearly a correction. So in the form of some kind of ABC, could even be a WXY possibly. It doesn't really matter. It's a correction. And so we should expect movement to the upside. So I suspect there'll be some sort of rolling back, scaling back of the tariffs that Trump imposed on India and other nations. And this should come out as a real positive for crypto. And I think there'll be continued institutional adoption. So I'll just touch on one more asset. There's so much more we could talk about, but I'll just look at JASM. JASM had quite a clear buy zone support level, which was actually this green dotted line. We actually dipped just below it. And that is so often the case. You find market makers in Wales will often spike the price below. If I go onto the daily, you'll see it is just a spike below. If I open that out some more, you should be able to see it. Yeah. I mean, you can see basically we had what appears to be an impulsive move in the making to the upside. That may have completed. This could be some kind of correction. So this actual cycle could have been completed here, possibly. We've got an ABC down. So it looks as though we are now going to move impulsively, and I believe to new highs above this local high here. So well into 2 cent range, I believe, for JASM. So this correction looks to be complete. As I say, this was an important level that we did breach, but the buy zone was around here. We're actually above the buy zone right now. If I go back to the 4 hour, you'll probably see a little bit more clearly. As we just said before about buy zones, if I measured the A wave, in fact, I'll do it for you here. I'll remove all these Fibonacci measurements just briefly, just so you can see where I'm at. There we go. I'll just measure the A wave and just see whether I can show you where my buy zone would have been. So I'd measure the A wave, which is from the bottom of there to the top of there. I'll transpose that to top of the B wave, which is there. Okay, so the buy zone was actually from this 786 to the 100%. So this range here, I'll just move the arrow to where that's the top of it, and the bottom of the range is here. So this was the actual sensible buy zone for JASM, I guess, looking at 100% extension to the 0.786. So if you bought there, you actually had a really nice hammer candlestick here, beginning this uptrend again. Looking quite impulsive right now. So if you bought in this range, you'd be in nice profit right now. I would now be looking to protect somewhere, somewhere down here, hopefully protecting a guaranteed profit situation now. And then you can hopefully ride the price higher. But if the price were to come down, you still take a profit. So that's the way I look to trade. Doesn't always work out perfectly, but that's generally the way you'll make consistent profits. You'll take some occasional losses, but consistently you should make more profits than losses, and the profits should be larger than the losses. So that's it for today. So much more, as I say, we can talk about. Maybe tomorrow we'll look at the conventional assets like the S&P 500 and maybe a couple of currencies, which are actually telling us a picture of what's going to happen in the not too distant future. So again, thank you for listening. Look forward to catching up later in the week. Have a great week and bye for now.